Hi, my name is Marc Karyo, and I'm the president of Old School Title Company. And this is Bob Mittleman. He's the director of education, and a lot of us like calling him the minister of education.
That's because I preach a lot.
And in this business, you got to preach a lot to do the right thing. And we're taking a few minutes right now. We've turned the cell phones off. We've turned the telephones off. The door's closed. And we're told, do not bother us, because we want to spend a few minutes talking to you about basically how we get these deals done, what we do, and a little bit about the marketplace right now. We're very popular right now because we do it right. Old School Title Company, we've been around for quite some time, but we've focused, at least this office here in Cleveland, Ohio, we're focused on short sales, pre-foreclosures, A sells to B and B sells to C transactions all over the country. We have offices in Florida. Our corporate offices are in Florida, but all of our national short sales, foreclosures, A to B transactions are handled here in Cleveland, Ohio. And we are the busy office in the
This is the National Operations Center. So what we do handle is all sorts of investor real estate, residential and commercial, and we're specializing in pre-foreclosures and short sales, as well as handling a great deal of REO packages lately.
Yes. If you see these late night or weekend afternoon commercials on TV with all these gurus, we are the people that tell them what they really can do the right way. People are coming to us all over the country. And the reason is we came up with a way to do these transactions legally, ethically, morally, the right way, the way to get them done. And we call it the
BLAST program.
And many of you heard about it on the internet or heard about it through referrals, and it's sweeping the country. And why don't you tell them why the BLAST is so important?
The BLAST program is doing a back-to-back double closing. A lot of people try to come back and say, can we do a simultaneous close? And the answer is no. And that's getting into semantics. You can have two simultaneous deals going on, but you can't close them simultaneously because you can't do two things at the same time. Under the BLAST program, the way we describe it is A would be your distressed seller, the investor would be B, and C is going to be your exit buyer, your retail buyer in the back end. And the program goes with A sells to B and B sells to C. What you have to do it as a parallel close is two separate standalone transactions that have to be funded independently from one another.
Well, we call it two separate and distinct, transparent, fully funded, fully disclosed transactions that occur back to back. So they're standalone, but the filings occur back to back.
We've been doing these transactions for about the last 5 years. And in that time period, we've gotten pretty good at what we do and figuring out how to do it. The market we're in right now, and this is the end of October in 2008, so you understand where we're coming from, is we're in the middle of the financial meltdown. And that's made a lot of the activities of the BLAST program more important than ever before. And the biggest one is what we just call transparency, which is people have to know what you're doing. And that is pretty much at odds with the way a lot of people were trained to approach this business.
Well, it's great that we can say, hey, the BLAST program, but let's talk about what the actual BLAST program is. What is it?
The BLAST program is doing the two back-to-back closings. You've got two parallel escrows that are running at the same time. So your A to B contract is opened up in escrow where A is the seller and B is the buyer. And that transaction goes through whether it be a negotiated short sale, a retail short sale, somebody buying an REO from the bank and intending to flip it. So let's interject for 1 second that flipping, though it has a bad connotation now, in and itself is not wrong, it's not illegal.
When is it illegal? When's flipping illegal?
By definition, if you introduce fraud into the transaction and you're not fully disclosing to people what you're doing, you're misrepresenting the credit status of your buyer, you're misrepresenting the value or the appraisal of the properties, basically not telling the truth and telling people what you're doing, would create a situation where a flip would be unacceptable.
So if you're lying, you're cheating, you're stealing, you're lying to a bank,
They can lie to you, but you can't lie to them.
Right. But that's flipping is bad. But if you're telling the truth, if you're being transparent, if you're disclosing, that's totally permissible.
Sometimes you find, we're finding out in our practice, for instance, is that the metric on short sales that successfully close, and it's not the number of files that are submitted to the number of files that are approved, but the number of files that are approved to how many of those close. The national average, and this metric is still current today, it's been good for the last 4 or 5 years, is actually about 3 out of 10, which means 7 out of 10 deals won't make it. Our metric right now is right around 8 out of 10. And the reason we have that dropout of 2 out of 10 is twofold. One, there's no exit strategy, which is the typical problem. And nationally, that's a problem. People do a deal and get the short sale and don't have an exit strategy, don't have an end buyer to come back in and actually fund the entire transaction.
That means a C.
The C buyer.
A C buyer
is not
C
there.
buyer.
Okay, in our case, we're blessed to be working with some educated investors that work on their exit strategy from the beginning. And usually we have a buyer in place. The biggest problem we have, and it's a reason for probably 1.5 of the 2 that don't close for us, would be disclosure. And under the BLAST program, you're required to make sure that your deal is transparent, meaning that everybody knows exactly what you're doing, that it's conditioned on a short sale in the A to B contract, and that same disclosure is made on the B to C contract. And typically when that's not done, you have a problem at the end when the underwriter finds out, what do you mean this is a flip? And that's where the deal goes south.
Well, we're not going to go through the documents. I mean, these documents are available for everyone. They're on websites. You can call us. You can email us. We'll get you the documents. But the disclosure we're specifically talking about, and the document that we're specifically talking about, we use an option contract.
Correct.
Okay, and in that, what the option contract is
For the A to B transaction.
For the A to B transaction, we're strictly talking about that A to B transaction, where A sells to B. The option contract is an option and a purchase and sales agreement in one.
In one document.
And in that document, it lays out what's going on.
There's specific verbiage in the document that creates the transparency and discloses your intention as an investor to buy that property and immediately sell it to a third party for a profit.